Today on HandyDadTV, I am introducing you to a new version of Govee Permanent Outdoor Lights. In 22, they came out with original permanent outdoor lights. Then last year, in 23, they came out with the Pro version. This year, they are adding a new one. This is considered Permanent Outdoor Lights 2. I'm just going to call them Gen 2 for short. They are an improved version of the originals, not quite up to par as the Pros. However, these two are going to be the same price. So you get new features, same price, and I'm going to tell you all the differences between them. I'm going to unbox them. I'm even going to show you a comparison on the house and let you know which ones I think are the best value. Coming up. This is a sponsored video that contains products provided without charge by the manufacturer for demonstration purposes. All opinions are my own. Now, according to my rep at Govee, they are still going to sell all three versions of these, including the original version, which came out in 2022. Now, I don't know if they're manufacturing anymore or they're just going to sell out whatever stock that they have. But you can bet this holiday season, the ones that are going to be the deepest discount are going to be the original version, because this is 2-year-old technology and there's a lot of copycats on the market. Now, this year, you're going to see a lot more copycats of the Pro version, but this version here, Gen 2, is something that is really new and unique just to Govee. Now, probably next year, you'll see copies about it too. But the best thing about Govee is that they have the same app that runs all of them. In fact, they run other lights in their ecosystem too. These are, for example, Christmas lights that you can put on your Christmas tree or use them other decorations, things like that. They also have strip lights that you can put on your house or anywhere else. They have garden lights. They have tons of things in their ecosystem. Govee is the innovator, and they have 90% of the market share. So what are you going to do? You're going to save a few bucks and get a copy, or are you going to go with the original? I always say go with the original. Okay, you can see some of the differences between Gen 1 and Gen 2 right on the box. First and foremost is the brightness. These are 25 lumens per light, and now they've upgraded it to 40 lumens per light. So when you look at 100 feet, you're looking at over 4,000 lumens of light for your entire house. So that's a big improvement. In addition, they now support Matter strategically. I think all their products are going to support Matter going forward. They still support Alexa as well as Google Home. All right, let's take a closer look at the two strings from the original and Gen 2. Gen 2 adds individual white LEDs in there, in addition to RGB, which is what you see on the original. That's only RGB. So in order to produce white on the originals, they had to mix red, green, and blue. Whereas on the Gen 2 and the Pros, they now have separate white LEDs, which I guess is important. I guess they found that a lot of people like them for security and accent lighting on their homes. And so that's why they added the white LEDs. The wires are the same and the connectors are the same. But one thing that they added with Gen 2 is you now get a 12-foot extension as well as 2 4-foot extensions, which is really nice. I guess, again, they found that people needed more. All right, just comparing the boxes between the Gen 2 and the Pro, you can start to see some of the differences right away. The brightness of the Pro is brighter per light. The Gen 2 is 40 lumens. The Pros are 50 lumens per light. But what you'll see here is it says for 100 foot, this is 3,000 lumens, but over here for 100 foot, it's over 4,000 lumens. Now, how can that be for the same distance? Well, that's because there are more lights per foot on the Gen 2. These are 16 inches apart, whereas the Pros are 20 inches apart. So you get fewer lights in the 100-foot box. And that's why the total lumens are actually the brightest on the Gen 2. You can also see they both now support Matter. They both have Alexa as well as Google Home. Now, one last thing that I'm going to point out is the 4000K there versus this says 2700K versus 6500K. The K stands for Kelvin, and that's the color temperature of the white. 6500K is considered daylight. 2700K is warm white. The Pros include both of those lights. You can set them to just warm white or daylight. The Gen 2 has a compromise. That's a medium white. 4000K is a medium white. And if you want it to look more like daylight, it'll actually add a little bit of blue to it. If you want it to look more like warm white, it adds a little bit of yellow to it. And that's how it can simulate. Using 4000K, it can simulate the same colors as the Pro version. Taking a closer look at the two light designs from Gen 2 versus the Pro, you can see that the Pro has 3 separate LEDs inside it for the daylight versus the warm white. And they circle the RGB chip in the middle. The Gen 2 has a new design where the RGB is in the middle, and then there's the two 4000K white lights on both sides. And so it's really a different design. The pucks are smaller for Gen 2. These are about 30 millimeters, and the Pros are about 34 millimeters. So a little bit bigger. One thing to notice, the difference is obviously the wiring. So the Pro comes with a thinner wire that is less visible on your house, but they are also designed to be cut, and they come with a kit that allows you to cut the string wherever you need it to be, and you can put ends on it and then extend them so that you don't have any dead pixels. Now you can certainly cut these strings and extend them yourself, but it is not supported. They are not designed to be cut. So you're basically on your own, and if you break them and they don't work, well, you're out of luck. You're not going to be able to get warranty support from Govee. They use the same connector specification. You can see they fit together. However, the controllers are not compatible, so you can't buy Gen 2 strings and add them to the Pros. Gen 2 comes in 50 foot, 100 foot, or 150 foot, as you can see here. The Pro lights come in 100, 150, or 200 feet. So the longest you can get is the Pros in 200 feet. However, the Pros allowed you to link multiple sets together. So let's say you needed 300 feet. You could get a 200 and a 100, and you could link them together so that they work seamlessly as one. You would just have to plug in the controller separately someplace around the house. Now you can do the same thing with Gen 2. You could not do that with the originals. What that means, again, you can get 200-foot strings or 250-foot strings if you have that much roof line, and you can link them together so two controllers virtually act as one, and you can have them do the same sequence across the entire house. So definitely a nice improvement here on the Gen 2 lights. All right, here you can see the difference in spacing. The original Gen 1, Gen 2 are the same, and this is the Pro version. You can see that instead of 16 inches apart, these are 20 inches apart. So just take a closer look at how different that is. Now all 3 generations have these 3M adhesive strips on the back. What they're intended for is when you're putting them up, you can peel these off, stick them to where they need to go, but they're not meant for permanent placement. So you really need to provide supplemental clips and screw them in. Well, the original version had this kind of a clip that, again, you could peel and stick it just to hold it in place. And this is really good if you're working on a ladder because you have to drive a screw through that little hole. All right, and that way you could use 2 hands, one to hold that little screw and the other to do the screwdriver. So that's Gen 1. And then they did the same kind of design for the Pros. Of course, these are black, but same kind of clip design. For Gen 2, completely different clip design. This one is intended to go around the entire light. And it holds the wires, number 1, and number 2, it's got 2 places for screws. So the wires will hold it in place while you're putting the screws in. I don't know that this is necessarily an improvement in aesthetics because I think it's actually going to be more visible from the ground. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Leave me a comment. Let me know. So Gen 2 seems to be a really pretty compelling value. Why would you spend more money on the Pros? Well, let's take a closer look. First and foremost, the Pros are designed to be cuttable. The Gen 2 is non-cuttable. You can still cut them, but it's not supported, which means you risk ruining your warranty. Gen 2 is 40 lumens per light, which are 55% brighter than the previous version, but they're not as bright as the 50 lumens per light coming out of the Pros. The price for the 100-foot version on the Gen 2 is $299 is the MSRP, whereas the MSRP for 100 foot of the Pros is $399. So do you think the pros are worth an extra $100 and you're actually getting fewer lights? Well, leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. To do a side-by-side comparison, I stapled a string of Gen 2 and Pros to the edge of a 16-foot 2x4, and I screwed it to the soffit tight against the house. This way all the lights are spaced exactly the same from the house so you can get a good apples-to-apples comparison. That enables me to show half a string of each, so the 6 on the left are of the Gen 2, and on the right are the 5 lights of the Pros. Although my house is a dark blue color, you can see they both project bright, vibrant colors with that signature Govee cone shape thanks to the lens on each puck. Red and green look similar, but the Pros produce a deeper blue. As expected, the Pros do a better job of producing daylight and warm white thanks to their dedicated white LEDs. But Gen 2's 4000K natural white looks brighter than the same temperature from the Pros. Using some of the built-in scenes, you can see that both sets have the same technical capabilities. And unless you were looking at them side by side like this, you'd never know if one house had Gen 2 and the other had Pros. That said, in my opinion, brighter isn't always better, and I actually prefer the wider spacing of the Pros. And for what it's worth, my wife agrees with me. But what do you think? Leave a comment and let me know. All right, there you have it. 3 different generations of Govee Permanent Outdoor Lights. Which one do you think provides the best value? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. I'll leave links to all these products in the video description. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it for the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you in the next one. Hey there, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to be the first to know when new videos are posted. Look for HandyDadTV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit the website HandyDadTV for more great ideas and information.